This is 6 News, our top stories this hour. No ceasefire. Israel vows to continue their bombardment of Gaza as the death toll surges past 9,000, including almost 4,000 children. Also this hour, Anthony Albanese becomes the first Australian Prime Minister to set foot in China in 7 years as he prepares to meet President Xi Jinping tomorrow. 3 dead after a firefighting plane crashes in outback Queensland, authorities saying the loss is felt by all who have been fighting bushfires across the state. And later this hour, charges filed against accused poison mushroom cook Erin Patterson allege she tried to kill her ex-husband 3 times in 10 months, and again on the same day of the meal police suspect led to the deaths of 3 other people. Good evening. Israel has vowed to continue their bombardment of Gaza with no temporary ceasefire until all hostages are released. Palestinian authorities say 9,227 people, including 3,826 children, have been killed in Gaza since October 7. The Israeli military has said ground troops are now operating in the south of the Gaza Strip, carrying out overnight a targeted raid where they say troops encountered a terrorist cell exiting a tunnel shaft, firing shells and killing them. The UN Agency for Palestinian Refugees has also said 2 blasts hit a UN school turned shelter, currently housing thousands of people, with reports of 15 to 20 killed and dozens injured. It follows earlier strikes on a refugee camp. Thousands of Israelis have also protested outside President Benjamin Netanyahu's official residence in central Jerusalem, calling for him to resign over the initial Hamas attack that killed more than 1,400 people. Netanyahu's so far not accepted personal responsibility for the attack, crowds waving flags and holding photographs of some of the hostages in Gaza and posters while people chanted, "Bring them home now." Here at home, large crowds have gathered outside the State Library of Victoria in Melbourne for a pro-Palestine rally. Thousands called for a ceasefire in Gaza, with chants including "Shame, Labor, shame," calling on the federal government not to back genocide. Some estimated the crowds were the largest yet, following almost a month of weekly demonstrations. It continues on from another full weekend of pro-Palestinian rallies. Israel has issued an urgent global travel warning for all citizens travelling anywhere in the world over a spike in anti-Semitism. They say all citizens should exercise heightened caution if they are abroad and to consider whether any foreign travel is necessary. Israeli government spokesperson Eylon Levy also says those overseas should avoid displaying outward signs of their Israeli or Jewish identity.
We are also asking citizens, and truly I cannot believe that we are doing this, we are asking all citizens to avoid displaying any outward signs of their Israeli or Jewish identity when travelling anywhere in the world.
Israeli citizens travelling to countries with specific travel warnings, with Levy emphasising Middle Eastern nations and nations bordering Iran, have been asked to postpone their visits. Former Labor Senator Doug Cameron says he refuses to be intimidated after former Victorian Labor MP Philip Dalidakis accused him of anti-Semitism. In a tweet this morning, Dalidakis, a member of the Victorian Legislative Council from 2014 until he resigned in 2019, said while he was a staffer in federal parliament, Cameron made an overt anti-Semitic comment. He added, quote, "He's a coward, a bully, a bigot and an avowed anti-Semite." The tweet in question was in response to Cameron saying he had witnessed the overt influence of Israeli governments on Australian politicians. In response, Cameron said Dalidakis' claims were unacceptable, defamatory and untrue, and he would not be intimidated. Anthony Albanese has become the first Australian Prime Minister to set foot in China in 7 years. He will be in the country until November 7, focusing on a stable relationship and building on previous discussions between the two nations, which the federal government has described as productive. Tomorrow he'll be meeting with Chinese President Xi Jinping. The leaders will discuss cooperation in a range of areas, including economic links and climate change, China already agreeing to a 5-month review of its tariffs on Australian wine, which began back in 2020. As a result, Australia agreeing to suspend its action in the World Trade Organization. It is the first visit to China by an Australian PM since 2016 and Anthony Albanese's first, marking 50 years since the very first visit to China by an Australian PM when Gough Whitlam travelled there in 1973. 3 people are dead after a firefighting plane crashed in outback Queensland. Authorities say the loss is being felt by all who have been fighting bushfires right across the state. 6 News National Affairs editor Austin Pollock has the very latest from Brisbane.
This all happened yesterday afternoon when reports came in at around 2:30 local time about a plane crash northwest of McKinley in remote northwest of Queensland. Wreckage was found at 5 p.m, having been located by a rescue helicopter in the air whilst ground crews were making their way to the site. All 3 people on board, a pilot and 2 passengers believed to be tasked with fire mapping, were killed. It's understood the aircraft was on its way from Toowoomba to Mount Isa and was providing support to air tankers being used amid the ongoing bushfires across Queensland. In a statement, Queensland Fire and Emergency Services said, "Our hearts are heavy following the fatal plane crash and the tragic loss of 3 people supporting our bushfire response. Side by side, we have been fighting these bushfires as one, and the loss is felt by all. Our thoughts and prayers are with their family, friends, and those who worked alongside them, including our air operations personnel." Queensland Premier Anastasia Palaszczuk has said she is deeply saddened at the news and to send her condolences to everybody affected. The Prime Minister Anthony Albanese has also weighed in, saying the crash was a tragic reminder of the dangers those on the front line of bushfires face. Fires have been burning across Queensland all week, although the conditions had eased with the wet weather, helping to extinguish the flames. By 6 p.m. Friday, there were 59 active fires. Investigations into the plane crash will be ongoing.
One man has died and another has been airlifted to hospital with serious injuries after a gyrocopter crash in Victoria's Goulburn Valley. The light aircraft crashed onto a private property in Goulburn Weir just after 7 a.m. local time this morning. Police say the pilot died at the scene and his passenger, a man in his 70s, was taken to the Royal Melbourne Hospital in a stable condition with non-life-threatening injuries. The exact cause of the crash is yet to be determined at this stage. An 18-year-old spectator has died in Western Victoria at a speedway. Police say a car struck and killed a man on a dirt track. Senior reporter Darby Travers has more.
At about 4:20 p.m. yesterday, a car struck a spectator on a dirt track installed in Western Victoria. The event was held at a speedway operated by Stall Motorsports Club and was promoting burnouts and drift cars. Victoria Police said a car struck an 18-year-old man. It's been reported that there were emergency services on the scene at the speedway before it happened, and the man was treated within minutes but died at the scene. In a statement, a police spokesperson said the 28-year-old male driver of the car was arrested but has been released pending further inquiries, and police are working to establish the exact circumstances of the incident. Investigators are now asking for anyone with footage of the event to contact Crime Stoppers. There has been more than 230 lives lost on Victorian roads so far this year.
Charges filed against accused poison mushroom cook Erin Patterson alleged she tried to kill her ex-husband 3 times in 10 months and again on the same day of the mushroom meal police suspect led to the deaths of 3 other people. The now infamous July 29 lunch in Leongatha in regional Victoria ended with 3 dead, along with Pastor Ian Wilkinson, who has since been released from hospital critically ill. 6 News GovCheck editor Stuart Jeffrey has the latest.
When, of course, we're looking at murder charges, we've got to first prove murder or attempted murder itself, the physical act, and then you've got to look at intent. We don't know all the evidence yet. We only have the arrests to go off of right now, but based on what we have, it does seem there's some intent over the children, of course, the custody battle there. And in fact, that lunch that they had was meant to also be around the custody of those children. So that's probably all we have for intent right now. We are, however, going to see more evidence come out in the coming months. But based on what we do have, a lot of the evidence does seem to be around her attempts to try and keep her children alive. Of course, we do know that they were fed separate meals as well, and as was she also gave herself separate food. So we do have some evidence there. Of course, we also had the Chinese story as well. She said she went to a Chinese store and bought the mushrooms there. But then we do have the dehydrator found in the local tip as well. So a lot of evidence there involving this. However, it is all alleged, and we don't have too much on intent right now, but we do expect more to come out in the following months. I am expecting that she'll eventually be released on bail rather than being kept in custody, although likely some orders, like some sort of suppression order to keep her away from her husband, with regards to the media, I don't see any suppression orders there against them, because of course we do, all the media outlets talking about it. You're not going to see it like we had with Bruce Lim in Queensland, for example. But I am expecting some sort of order to kind of keep her away from the ex-husband, because of course he is still alive.
The Mulgrave state by-election in Victoria is fast approaching, with the ballot order announced for the 10 candidates. Voters in Melbourne are heading to the polls following the resignation of former Premier Dan Andrews. 6 News election reporter Maggie Perry has more.
I think the donkey vote will have a 1 or 2% influence on the seat, which could be enough to make Ian Cook overtake the Liberals, especially considering it's a pretty diverse and multicultural seat. And those types of seats usually have higher donkey votes, higher informal votes, usually because of a less understanding of English. So that could really influence it. We might be waiting a while if it were to be close, which is pretty unlikely, because we will be waiting to decide whether Ian Cook or the Liberal candidate will be higher on the ballot, votes. And so that will definitely cause a bit of weight. Labor is pretty likely to hold it, but Dan Andrews, of course, Premier for 9 years, he's held the seat for 21 years, which is huge. He'll definitely have an incumbency vote. And there's been controversy about Commonwealth Games, which has been brought up a lot. Even though the polls are pretty stagnant at the 56% mark, there could be a difference. There could be a bit of a swing away from Labor. I believe that's likely the case.
I'm going to be the only real opposition in this by-election, because this is a very safe Labor seat. Labor are very confident. They think there is going to be this very seamless transition of power from Dan to the new Labor candidate, and they're not worried. And that's not what I'm hearing from people that I'm speaking to. The other candidates, the Liberal Party, it's such a mess right now. It's hard to take them seriously. So I think that actually I will be the strongest opposition, as we're seeing the Greens being strong opposition in Parliament, but in the absence of a real opposition in the Liberal Party. So I think that what I will do is actually raise the issues that people are really worried about. And we are actually the only party that is offering solutions to those issues. People are saying to me that cost of living is the real thing that is worrying them right now. And all of us are being affected by that. The increase in cost of everything is affecting all of us. And actually, it's only the Greens that actually have tangible solutions for that. The rest pay lip service to it, but they don't have real solutions.
The ballot paper draw has been very favourable for the right, especially like Liberal, Family First, Libertarians. They're all at the start. Well, Greens, Labor, Animal Justice, Socialists, they're much later on the ballot. So I think that will definitely affect it. Vote Labor's candidate, Mayor of the Greater Dandenong area, that is a pretty strong local profile. That might be enough to keep their vote above 50% potentially. It'll also be interesting to see how the Victorian Socialists will perform, because this is only the second seat they've run in that was outside West Metro or North Metro, other than Warrandyte, where Labor didn't run a candidate. So it'll definitely be an indicator of how they could perform outside of those northwest areas of Melbourne.
All right, now for a look at the top stories in Perth right now on WAMN News, here's Ivan Amelli.
Thanks, Pago. Tonight on WAMN News, Fremantle's dark secret exposed. Rampant substance abuse sparks outcry as business owners and residents reveal no-go zone in the CBD. A WAMN News exclusive.
Also tonight, shifting allegiance. Ex-National MPs move to the WA Liberals, triggers opposition disputes before the next election.
Cassius Turvey's mother, Michelle Turvey, awarded WA's Australian of the Year.
Indonesian billionaire attends Perth's Entrepreneur Summit as WA seeks to boost trade opportunities. And later, Dr. Andrew Miller's comment. Join us tonight on the WAMN News Facebook page and YouTube channel.
Let's get a recap of the top stories we are following on 6 News this hour. And Israel has vowed to continue their bombardment of Gaza with no temporary ceasefire until all hostages are released. Palestinian authorities say 9,227 people, including almost 4,000 children, have been killed in Gaza since October 7. And Anthony Albanese has become the first Australian Prime Minister to set foot in China in 7 years. He'll be in the country until November 7, focusing on a stable relationship and building on previous discussions, meeting with Chinese President Xi Jinping tomorrow. That is 6 News for now. You can stay up to date by heading to our website and following us on social media at SIXNewsAU. News is on the hour, every hour here on 6 News. For now though, I'm Leonardo Puglisi. Thanks for your company. Good night.